Hey guys, welcome back to Sacred Vedic Astrology. My name is Samantha, and I'm so blessed and so grateful to be a professional Vedic sidereal astrologer. So, on this channel, we are bringing the ancient, accurate, and predictive system of astrology, also known as Vedic astrology or Jyotisha. Jyotisha means the divine science of light, and Vedic astrology truly is a science and a art and a practice that is very sacred. So that is where my business name comes from, right? And today we're going to go into some important foundations of Jyotisha. So, what I've found with astrology in general, and especially Vedic astrology, is people really want to go into the more complex aspects of astrology without grasping the foundations first. Right? So, people want to learn about all the complicated yogas and they want to know, what's the Lakshmi yoga? What are all these yogas? What are the et cetera, et cetera? How do I go into those more complex places with astrology? How do I predict, right? And the thing about that is it's missing the foundations of astrology, which is actually the most important aspect to grasp when you're building a astrological practice. Is you really want to understand the foundations first, right? Think about building a house. We can't build, a great house on a unstable or unsolid foundation. So it's really important to have those roots and that foundation strong in astrology, because when it gets more complex, we're going to miss a lot of things and not understand a lot if we don't get that strong foundation first. So today I'm going to teach you guys about a very foundational aspect of Vedic astrology, which is the 4 aims of life in astrology and what this means and how this connects to the different houses. All right. So the 4 aims of life are Artha, dharma, kama, and moksha. All right, and these are the 4 goals of life as well in Hinduism. So these different aims of life connect to various houses in Vedic astrology and different elements of the signs, which we'll get into as well too. Now, the reason this is important to understand in Vedic astrology is because it's going to help us understand what we are more called to in this lifetime, based on our natal charts, but also based on the dasha sequence we're running, and also based on the transits and which aspect of life or which aim of life this is pushing us into. All right. So to start off, we have the Artha houses. So think about Artha as earth. If you want to have some sort of, word to connect Artha to, it would be earth. It connects to the earth signs. And similarly to that, it connects to all things of the materialistic realm and our sense of security. So the Artha houses are houses 2, 6, and 10. All right. This is connecting to our security and all things that make us feel safe in the lower chakras, right? We can also connect us to the chakras as well too. So if we're thinking about Artha energy, we're thinking about the lower chakra energy that is helping us feel safe in this lifetime. Okay. So the second house is the house of money and finances and resources, and also our early childhood experiences as well too. So someone has a lot of second house energy activated in their chart. They are very focused on security in this lifetime. Financial security, emotional security. They want to feel safe. And the thing that's very important about that is we can't go to those higher places spiritually until we feel safe in our physical body and our physical environment, right? So if someone's worried about, how they're going to pay rent or if they can get food, a certain month, they're not going to be focused on moksha. They're not going to be going to those higher places because they need to feel safe in their body, right? So Artha is that lower chakra energy that is very focused on the materialistic world and the ways that we feel safe in our materialistic environment. So second house is money, resources, early childhood experiences. Fourth house is home, family, environment, happiness, ancestors, our lineage. The sixth house is the energy of our daily routines, our daily work, our structure. So the sixth house is that energy of what are we doing day to day to feel safe, to feel of the world, to feel structured, to feel that Artha energy. Okay. Sixth house is also very much our health and our wellness. So sixth house can connect to, our physical fitness and working out and our energy. And so the sixth house is also that house of health and healing as well too. And, we're not going to feel safe and secure if we're struggling a lot with our health, if we're going through health issues, right? So that's why that sixth house energy also connects to the Artha houses, because it is focused on our security and our sense of well-being and our sense of health. So the Artha houses 2, 6, and 10 are very much connected to that worldly physical plane of existence that brings us security and safety, right? Because until we feel safe in our physical bodies, we're not going to be focused on the higher chakras, the higher planes. We're going to be focused on how can I make rent this month, right? It's more like that with Artha energy. It's really how we are feeling safe in the physical world. Okay, it's security, it's financial security, it's physical security, it's wealth, it's prosperity, it's, the 10th house is our career, 10th house is our public image. We need a positive career, public image to feel safe as well too. So that's that Artha energy. It's very much all things lower chakra, right? And the thing about when we discuss topics like this, I feel like a lot of times people want to, discuss one as better or worse, right? Oh, the lower chakras are this, or the, second house is so focused on the materialistic, and it's not that, right? It's not good, it's not bad. It's that we need all these different areas of life to be balanced to live a really positive life. So, if we're just going to the ashrams and we're just so focused on moksha and we're meditating all day, we're not enjoying the physical pleasures, right? We're not also, buying ourselves nice things once in a while or feeling secure enough to give someone money or donate to a charity, right? So do you see how it's like, it's not good, it's not bad, it's different various aspects of life that we have to balance and come into balance with to find, true happiness essentially, or maybe liberation. Okay. So that is the Artha energy. Think about Artha as earth. It connects to the earthly plane and all things that make us feel safe and secure because we have that security through finances and a good career and wealth and prosperity and health as well too, because that is very much the sixth house. All right, now we are going into the dharma houses. So dharma is a word that we hear very often in the Western world, right? I feel like it's one of those I want to say it's very catchy, or maybe it's very popular to hear the word dharma, right? People are always like, what's your dharma? Find your dharma, right? So I feel like it's a very westernized word at this point. So many people know that word. And dharma is our sense of purpose. It's our sense of duty. It's our sense of why are we here? What am I going to do to feel of service and purposeful in society? And how can I fulfill my roles as well too? Dharma is that energy of fulfilling some sort of role to feel like you're of your purpose and of society in some regard. So the dharma houses connect to the fire signs. All right, it's that fiery, passionate energy that we have to exert our purpose and be of the world, right? That's dharma. All right, it connects to houses 1, 5, and 9. And this is righteousness. This is our moral values. These are our higher beliefs. This is our sense of purpose in the world. Dharma is also very much connecting to the needs of others. How can we help others? What is my purpose is essentially that Dharma energy. Now, when it comes to houses 1, 5, and 9, they manifest differently, right? The first house is like, what is my Dharma in the sense of how am I showing up in the world? What's my energy? How am I expressing myself? How am I speaking? How am I showing up in the world? Because that is our Dharma in essence as well, too. It's like, who are we as a person, right? That's the first house. It's the self, it's the body, it's the physical energy. So when someone has a strong first house or a strong first house lord or good aspects on their first house, they walk into a room and people notice them. People know, oh, that person has a certain aura, a certain energy about them because they have a strong first house or ascendant. The 5th house is the house of purva punya, or good past life karma. So that's very important because a lot of our sense of purpose comes from our past life energy, right? And the 5th house is also that creative house as well, too. And it's in so many people's Dharma and purpose to be creative and to create, right? That's a huge aspect of Dharma, is creating and showing up and creating this art and writing these books and expression. That's the 5th house. 5th house is also the house of children. So it's in a lot of people's Dharma to have children, right? That is the 5th house as well, too. Children, creativity, all things that are connected to expression. 5th house can also be advising as well, too. So not many people know this, but the 5th house actually connects to astrology as well, because the 5th house is advising others. All right. 9th house is that energy of higher morals, higher beliefs, higher principles. When someone has a strong 9th house, they're very moralistic and they feel very strongly about the things they feel very strongly about. 9th house can be the house of justice, righteousness. Oftentimes when people have a strong 9th house, they feel very just, very righteous about certain aspects or causes in this lifetime. Especially if you get Jupiter in the 9th house or Jupiter in Sagittarius in the 9th house, then we're getting like a righteous, justice-seeking sort of warrior type of person, right? Where they really want to fight for their beliefs and they have very strong beliefs in this lifetime as well, too. So that's more of that 9th house, philosophical, moralistic sort of energy. All right. Now, we're going to the Kama houses. So these are houses 3, 7, and 11. And this is connecting to the air signs. So this is more intellectual energy, and this is connecting to expression, connection, the thoughts that we hold. The Kama signs or the Kama houses connected to the air signs are very much about the mind and how we, connect with others. And it's more so that realm. It's more airy, it's more intellectual, it's more social with the Kama energy. It's said that Kama connects to pleasure, enjoyment. This is where we get more of our enjoyment in life from these houses, right? Because the 3rd house is the house of willpower and strength. It's also the house of writing and expression and dancing. And so you'll find a lot of, it's interesting because there's 2 sort of thoughts in astrology that the 3rd house is the arts, the 5th house is the arts. They're both the arts, best believe it. And when you see connections between the 3rd house and the 5th house through Lord House rulership, or if you see really strong planetary energy in the 3rd house or 5th house, someone is going to be an artist in some regard, okay? But this is what I've found through, one of my personal guides, who is James Braha, who I always like to shout out because he has changed my whole astrological practice, and he's just truly the OG of bringing Vedic astrology to the Western world. But he always taught us that the 3rd house was more so that house of the arts. And I have found that to be true. A lot of the times people who are very talented artists and performers are going to have a very lit up 3rd house. So if we're thinking about pleasure and enjoyment, There's nothing more pleasureful and something that we can't get more enjoyment out of. Mercury's about to go retrograde. Then expression, right? Dance, creating. That is very pleasureful, and that is very much connected to our happiness and our enjoyment and things that bring us this sense of pleasure as well too, because we're connecting to expression, right? So the third house is that house of expression. It can be dance, it can be writing, it can be all things creative, artistic, and expressive. It's also the way that we speak and connect to others as well too. Seventh house is the house of connections, relationships, business partnerships. So the seventh house is that house of, we're connecting, with someone one-on-one. It's a strong relationship. It's a strong business partnership. And it's that connection energy. The 11th house is more so groups of people. So the 11th house is the energy of groups, organizations, larger groups of people. Someone has a really strong 11th house, they love being in groups. I know someone who has like a really strong Venus in the 11th, and that person is never alone. Let me tell you. Let me tell you, that's a strong 11th house, okay? So the 11th house is connecting with groups, like-minded people, organizations, centers, groups, things of that nature. You'll also find when someone has a strong 11th house, they really enjoy like organizations. They like to be in places where everyone has a like-minded goal in some regards. Okay. And very interesting, the 11th house in Vedic astrology is also large sums of money. So we don't see that in Western astrology at all, but someone has a strong 11th house, and if they have like second house, 11th house connections, second house lord in the 11th house in the second, that's when we're getting big money in this lifetime. Big money. We're not just talking about, someone has a good job and they're making good money. That's the second house. But when we get really strong 11th house energy, that is large sums of money that comes in all at once. So someone can be, really good with investing, real estate, things of that nature when the 11th house is strong, because it's big sums of money. Okay. And what's more enjoyable than large sums of money that come out of nowhere? What could be more fun, right? What could be more pleasureful? That's these are the Kama houses of pleasure and enjoyment. All right. Now we're going into the deeper waters and the deeper realms, which is going to be moksha houses. All right. Now, moksha houses are houses 4, 8, and 12, and these houses connect to the water signs in astrology. So think all things watery, all things spiritual, all things deep, right? These are the houses where we are going into the depths to reach some sort of enlightenment in this lifetime. The fourth house is the house of home, family, our lineage, our ancestry. It's also that energy of happiness, and it is sort of that soul energy. So I see the fourth house as like the seed of the soul. It's really the soul fulfilling energy of when we go towards it, we can find a lot of happiness, right? So what's more happy and more comforting than like home, family? That's that fourth house energy. The eighth house is the house of psychics and astrology, more metaphysical. Occult energy is that eighth house. So if someone has like benefics in the eighth house, if they have a lot of that eighth house energy, they love all things esoteric, they love astrology, anything that is going into those more, I would say, taboo spaces with the eighth house, right? That's more of like a Western understanding of the eighth house, but I do find it to be true. I do. And I have a lot of eighth house energy in my charts. And, the first time I pulled out a deck of tarot cards, I was just like, boop, boop, do, 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 do. And I was reading people's tarot cards and I was like, this guy is doing this behind your back and this is happening. And did someone just offer this? And they're like, how'd you know that? the eighth house energy. Things come very naturally to us if it's connected to all things esoteric and psychic or astrological in some way. However, the eighth house is the house that goes deep into psychological transformational experiences. So is the eighth house easy? No, it is one of the more difficult houses because we are going through intense experiences to reach moksha, to reach liberation. All right, that is the eighth house. Now, this is an important thing to differentiate in astrology is the 8th house and the 12th house are very different spiritual energies. So the 8th house is like, okay, we're going to a psychic, we're pulling tarot cards, we're looking at our astrology, we are researching astrology all day. That's the 8th house. The 12th house is more so meditation and ashrams and going to foreign lands to have some sort of liberation experience. The 12th house is spiritual evolution through, I would say, modes that are more connected to like going within and spirituality and breath work. And that's more the energy of the 12th house. It's raising consciousness. And the 8th house is more of those like, those more taboo places, right? So the way that I see it, and this is giving me chills right now for some reason, so I know that I'm meant to say this like this. The 8th house is like, let's go to the haunted house and do a seance, which by the way, I've never done in my life, but that is the 8th house energy, okay? We're going into something dark and kind of spooky and a little bit eerie, and we're bringing some sort of occult energy to it. Okay, the 12th house is like we're going to India to learn from a guru how to meditate properly. That's the 12th house. Think about it like that, all right? And I know for a fact that I can see the differences when I meet people who have more 8th house moksha energy or more 12th house moksha energy. It manifests very differently. People with 8th house energy, they like kind of those darker aspects of spirituality. They want to go more into like tantra or like sexuality, sexual healing. They want to go into like tarot cards. They want to go into astrology, metaphysics. The 12th house people are more so interested in enlightenment, meditation. They want to go travel to foreign lands. And that is more of that 12th house energy. It's both moksha, but it manifests differently. Okay. All right, so moksha is spiritual liberation. It is liberating ourselves in this lifetime. It's freeing ourselves from all that materialistic desires that we have, right? Which again, one isn't worse, one isn't better. They are just different aims of life. So we're either more drawn to that moksha energy and we want to heal ourselves and we want to, fix our karma. I don't want to say fix. We want to clear our karma. We want to learn our lessons. We want to not do the same thing over and over again with moksha, right? If someone has strong moksha energy in their chart, they are very interested in getting better. Improvement, spiritual liberation is very important. All right. And this is more so the energy of going into the depths of things to reach enlightenment through moksha. Okay. So if someone has a lot of moksha energy in their Vedic astrological charts, they are not going to be the people that are, climbing the ladder of a corporate company. That is more when someone has a lot of Artha energy, all right? Someone has a lot of moksha, which I have very active in my chart, you can tell. That's why I'm a professional astrologer. Is we are more interested in how do we free ourselves and liberate ourselves in this lifetime. That is the focus of moksha. All right. So it's self-realization. It is understanding that, yes, we live in a material world. That's the lower chakras. All right. Now we're up at the highest chakra point. We're at moksha. We're at the third eye. We're at the crown chakra, right? We're realizing, this is all an illusion. Okay. And what we're here to do is to realize that illusion aspect of reality and heal ourselves spiritually and understand that anything we're stuck in is self-imposed in some regard, right? And here's the thing, if you have a lot of moksha energy in your chart, you are going to go through tumultuous, intense experiences to reach that liberation. All right. This is something that I've noticed. If people don't have a lot of moksha energy in their charts, they have kind of more of a lifetime for them where it's not necessarily focused on those intense, deep, transformational, traumatic experiences, right? That is moksha. That's like constantly going through these cosmic tests, if you want to say it like that are getting us to that place of liberation. All right. So moksha energy is very, very important and very powerful, but we don't want to go there. We don't want to go into the higher chakras until we have the Artha balanced as well too, until we have material resources, until we feel safe in our body, until we are physically healthy, things like that, right? So it is all connected, right? It's all connected. We can see it as the chakras. We start at the lower with Artha, right? We're in the lower chakras. Then we're going up more into like the sacral. We're getting into the dharma. We're getting into a purpose and creating. Then we're going up more into kama. That's like the throat. We're getting into, speaking and discussions and expression and groups and organizations. And then we're going to the highest point and we're going to moksha, which is where we are clearing this idea that this world is even real in the first place, right? So isn't that interesting how it's all connected to the different chakras and the different points of energy? And these are the 4 aims of life: Artha, Dharma, Kama, and Moksha. All right. And again, it's not that one area or one aim of life is better. It's not that one aim of life is superior. It is not about that. And actually in Hinduism, there is the belief that we need to get to a place of balancing all these different aspects, all right? And when we get too much into one aim of life, one area of life, we can get out of balance as well too, all right? But the reason it's so important to understand these 4 aims is because we can understand why, based on our birth charts, based on our transits, based on the dasha sequence we are running, why we feel called to something at a certain point of life, all right? For example, when I started going through a Rahu dasha when I was about 12 years old or 13 years old, and that started activating moksha in my chart because that was my 4th house. That is a moksha house, okay? So now I enter a Rahu dasha, and it's all about moksha. It's all about spirituality. I started studying astrology when I was like 13, when I entered my Rahu dasha. I started getting interested in like my family lineage and my history. That's also the 4th house. And getting very interested in like, my ancestors are connected to this culture. And a lot of that started really coming out for me at the time of the 4th house activation of moksha. Liberation, self-realization, ancestry. All of those themes get activated like that when the dasha sequence gets activated. Okay? Someone goes into a Rahu dasha and Rahu is in their 10th house. Well, now they are activated towards Artha. They are activated towards career fulfillment, success, security, prosperity. That is when Artha gets activated in the dasha sequence. All right, do you see how it's all cyclical? It's all based on different points of life and cycles of why we are called to something at a certain point. And this is getting a little bit more complex, so I'm not going to go there yet. But another thing that we can go into with astrology is, is someone's Artha houses more afflicted, or are they more benefically aspected? Okay, so for example, someone has a bunch of malefics aspecting their 2nd house, 10th house, 1st house. Their sense of security is always kind of faulty. It's a little bit shaky, right? So if someone has like a weaker 1st house, they're easier to kind of shake in this lifetime. They're not as solid in themselves. So their security or their Artha energy is not the most in flow, right? Someone has a bunch of benefic influence on their 1st house, on their 2nd house. They're always good. They're always, fine, financially, security-wise, it's always fine, right? Someone has a lot of afflictions negatively onto their dharma houses, they might always struggle with, what's my purpose? Why am I here? What do I believe? What are my values? That's the afflictions on the dharma houses, right? If someone has benefic influence on the kama houses, they love to talk. They love to connect. Let me tell y'all, I have my most benefic planetary energy in my chart is actually onto my kama houses. I have a really strong Jupiter in my 7th. I have Mercury in my 3rd. And I could talk and intellectually connect forever. Like when I meet people that are intellectually interesting, I've literally hung out with people where we've spoken for 48 hours straight and just never stopped talking. All right, so that's kama. We love to intellectually connect with people. We love to express. We love to connect. We love to talk. We love to write. We love, it's very kama. It's mental energy, and we love it. It's, we're having the time of our life if we have benefic influence on the kama. All right. All right. Then it's like this, if someone has a lot of benefic influence on the moksha energy, they are going to do great in fields of spirituality. They're going to thrive when they go to the ashrams. They're going to do well when they meditate. That is benefic influence on moksha. It's not to say that malefic influence doesn't cause that as well too, because a lot of spiritual gurus, guides, teachers have had like Mars in the 8th house, things like that, Mars in the 12th. But it might be more so that they go through more intense experiences to get there, or themes of that nature. All right. So this was an understanding of a very basic, and when I say basic, I don't mean simple, but a very basic groundwork principle of Vedic astrology is, what are the 4 aims of life? And how do they connect to the houses? And how do they connect to the signs energetically, right? And I love to see it as that chakra system, which is something I actually learned from Simon Shikowski, who is an amazing Vedic astrologer. But he would talk about the chakras being very connected to the different aims of life, right? So we start lower, we're in the Artha energy, we're in the lower chakras, we're trying to ground, we're trying to feel safe in our body. Then we start going up. Right, and then the highest chakra point we're getting to is moksha, or spiritual liberation. All right. So I hope you guys enjoyed this lesson in Jyotisha or Vedic astrology on the 4 aims of life. This is very, very important, right? And again, it's all about that balance. We don't want to go too extreme in any of these directions, right? For example, I have kama energy. I could talk about an intellectual subject all day and forget, I have to get to work. Right? So it's like that. Moksha energy. I have a lot of moksha energy. I could meditate at the ashram all day, but I got to get back to work. So it's like that. All right? We don't want to go too far in any direction. We want to find balance and equilibrium within all of it. And that's when you will find that fulfillment in life, is when all areas are flowing, all chakras are flowing, things are good, right? Like if we have financial security, we have good connections, we have good friendships, we have good intellectual stimulating connections, we're creating, and then we're also meditating 30 minutes a day. Life is good, baby. Okay. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed this introduction sort of lesson into the 4 aims of life, and comment down below where your energy is more pulled in this lifetime. Do you have a lot of Artha houses active in your chart? Do you have a lot of dharma? Do you have a lot of kama? Do you have a lot of moksha? And do you feel like you're always called into those areas of life? All right, we'll talk soon. Sending you all the love, guys.